when you're working with an engineer, it's got to be like your best friend, or almost like a wife, because you kind of nag at each other.
Oh yeah, we argue all the time. If the car is not great and you're not going in the right direction, obvious it's very easy to get upset.
It's almost like in a relation, you know. Sometimes we look at each other's eyes and like, yeah, I could have done better.
Drivers have that tendency that they think there's, you know, some magic dust you can throw on it and fix the car, and I think everybody wishes that were the case.
The engineer wants to overanalyze stuff sometimes, and sometimes we just want to go out and go quickly.
I think that's a big mistake a lot of people make, is they're always looking for some silver bullet that's just going to be the magic and it's just going to be perfect from there.
In being a race driver, it's really difficult for them to be patient, and that's something that we always have to remind them that I'm probably not going to fix this problem all in one go, but if I want to get the data that I need to fix your problem, I'm going to take baby steps to get there.
The best thing you can hear is it's good in the entry, it's good in the middle, and it's good on exit, but unfortunately, I don't know that I've ever heard that in my life.
For me, I want him to describe the car in each corner of the track, because they are specific. Some are low-speed corners, some medium, then to high speed, and I want him to narrow down the car setup to specific corners.
You know, the driver says, this is the area where I'm struggling, and we'll ask him, well, what do you need from the car to go faster? Is it less understeer, more overall grip, less oversteer, more power, more brakes, more feel? You know, so basically just, because our job is to make the car go faster, so we just ask them directly, what do you want to feel from the car to be able to go faster?
I would rather not have the suggestions on how to fix it. I would rather just have the information on what they're feeling. And then we kind of talk about that, like what Ian or I might have in mind to help correct that. Rather than them being the engineer and the driver, I think it's best to let them just give you the information and you digest it, and knowing from your past history that you've heard this kind of things before and you think you got a direction on what you need to go.
After a session, I want all the details about what's going on with the car. During the session, I'm mostly interested in the priority topics. Afterwards, I need all the details. How do the belts fit? How do the brakes feel? And then the intricate stuff about the handling of the car. He's already given me like the Cliff's notes. I already know what I need to fix, but the other things that are going to come on top and the other, you know, everything's a compromise. So I need all the little details to make the decision in between sessions.
Sometimes I also like to do a test blind, meaning I don't tell him what I'm doing on the car or what the crew is doing on the car. So he gives me his own feedback without any other inputs. I want his feeling to tell me the truth.
What I want to hear from the engineer, don't worry, the car will be perfect next session.
Sometimes it's kind of tricky and you need to think about it, because let's say the car is a little bit understeer and oversteer. You need to know exactly what you're going to say, because whatever you're going to say to the engineer, you will do in that order.
An engineer really likes to go dig deep into why, and he wants explanations, and he wants to know what happened and how it happened and so on. And sometimes you don't have time to do that. So the good engineers, they are on the pit wall and they make a decision, boom, let's do this. You go out and you try, and it's never a blame. If it's a bad decision at that point, you made it together.
Different engineers have different styles. Some are very data driven and some are very driver dependent. And I think you have to be a combination of both.
Some engineers just want the driver to give a good descriptive comment and stay away from trying to play engineer.
Sometimes the engineer just gets out of control and he just wants to make sure he understands exactly what the change is going to do, and it delays the process and you can't quite develop as quickly.
He's kind of a nerd one. He's very good on putting the car on the simulator and then put it like perfect on and as it goes out. But then I don't want him to do the setup based on the simulation, and I want the engineer to hear me and listen to what the driver wants.
You try not be too heated immediately. Obviously, if you get out and the car's not great, you're pretty aggressive about it. But it's good to stay calm and be, relatively realistic of what the car is doing, so you can translate that to the engineer in terms that he can understand. Because if you start getting very heated and very aggressive with your feedback, obviously it's going to get him heated as well, and it'll be a little bit counterproductive.
It's got to be constructive. It's got to be positive when you're working with your engineer. I think, I consider it, to be part of my responsibility as a driver is to be a part of that process, contribute as much as possible, and provide a direction to the engineer. Ultimately you've got all the data, all the sensors, but they're not the ones sitting in the seat. It's up to you as a driver, I think, to come up with what you really need and what you're really looking for to get more out of the car.